Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. I thought I would do another 2x2 inch Stampbord tile. I wanted to show you guys some other aspects of the tools that are used with that medium. This stamp right here is a new one. Never been used before. I've never used it. And it's called the Old Barn Small, I think it was called. Reduced size of the larger version. Okay, now this is a pretty small stamp. Now, if I had this on a smaller acrylic block, which I need to buy more of, I could take that and stamp it right onto the tile. They're roughly, about the same size. But one of the things is, with small tiles like this, sometimes I take tile to stamp as opposed to stamp to tile, and I find it easier to kind of position because I can see the image there and I can see where the overhang is and whatnot. But let's see, I wanted to make this into kind of a moonlit night scene, and although this is a 2x2 inch tile, you can still, do a nice scene. It's just called, it's kind of more of a micro scene than anything. This is the glowing orb stamp, and from a previous release. And I'm going to stamp this out in a... Now that's a Prussian blue. I thought, that looks dark. That's the Prussian blue color of the Marvy line. By the way, I stamped that out in the black Marvy. Let's see, let me mask over some of this rooftop. I don't want to get that real dark color in that roof top there. Let's see if I can kind of rip out a shape that's close to the outline of the image. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to aim for that moon somewhere right in that area. Okay. Now, let's get on with some of the coloring. Okay. Okay, if you want the moon to really kind of stand out against the dark background sky, then remember to not go over it too much with your tones. Okay, this color right now is the Adirondack Lights Aqua. And I will, I'm putting a little bit of this color over the moon just so it's not so stark white. Okay. Now normally I would be kind of turning the tile, for my application of color so that it's nice and comfortable. But this is a real small tile, so I'm trying to keep this upright, and in watching some of the videos that I've posted, I realized that, I don't know, sometimes when I'm not looking through looking at the screen to see what I'm shooting, I realize sometimes I'm, I don't know, coloring the stamp off the, out of the frame of the picture and whatnot. So I drew these little lines this time to make sure that I stay within the frame of the video. Okay, that was a Salvia blue, the number 60 from Marvy. Okay, this is a number 10 blue, again Marvy. And maybe with this number 10, maybe I won't get as close to the moon as I did with some of the previous colors. The darker I get, kind of the more perimeter oriented I become with the application of it. Okay, now this is the far vertical wall of the barn, so maybe I'll make that side of it darker than the rooftop. Maybe the rooftop is catching some of that light from the moon. And normally now, I wouldn't make that roof as dark as I even have at this point in time, but see, I know on Stampbord, one of the things that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be scratching out some highlights onto the top of it, because it's a Stampbord, again, is a workable clay surface. This color right here is a number 3. Just the title of it is Blue Marvy. Okay. Okay. Darker perimeter. Kind of to frame things off a little bit. Let's go a little bit darker around the edges. This isn't quite the Prussian blue yet. I'm working up to that tone. Okay, now this is the Prussian blue. See how it becomes much more perimeter oriented at this point in time. Okay. And let's see. Maybe get a little bit of a shading under the eaves there. Let's run some of this into the surface too. Okay, and we stamped out our image in black. Why don't we use that same value right here on the edges to really frame it off even more. Okay. Now, let's start with some highlighting. Okay, now, 2 different tools again. If you didn't see that first video, this nib right here is kind of more of a spoon kind of shaped tool used for using on its edge. This one right here is a much sharper tip, and use it for its point to do real fine lines, okay? Now I'm looking at this little tile right here, and I'm thinking, okay, where do I want to add some of this? Here's this moon right here, and this is the image of it, but can you see where some of these areas are on the stamp? Right on the edge of the clouds, there's these little highlights, meaning areas where they're light. I can just go back in and reclaim, this is the spoon-shaped one, some of those highlights like this, and see, I'm just kind of lightly removing some of this. I'm not gouging. I mean, you could go for, much more of an expressionistic type of, mark and remove some tone very quickly like that. But this one right here, I'm just starting off kind of with lighter touches. Where I dig through some of the darker tones out here, what I can do is I can reveal some of the lighter blues that I've placed underneath it, okay? Even though they all are kind of, blending together in a way. I'm talking about physically blending, as far as the inks go. It does look like you're achieving, reaching down and getting to a lighter version of blue over here. Okay? And here's another little area, maybe some of that little edge of the cloud. I think I'll, silver line cloud or something. But anyways, it's just where it's capturing some of that light. And you can see this area is starting to be revealed again. Okay, now we have the rooftop here, and I was mentioning, you know, it'd be kind of nice to be able to illuminate some of that rooftop. So I think it's nice to be able to go back into it like this and reclaim. Now you're saying, some of you might be thinking, well, if you're going to remove some of that ink, why don't you just leave it white to begin with? Well, I think it's kind of nice to have some kind of tone on there as it relates to the rest of the scene, rather than just to leave it stark white. And plus, see, like down here, I might be lighting up some of that surface down there that, you know, I'm going to say, you know, this terrain down here is, you know, light snow, maybe even, for example. But you can see where I can get this texture in there. It's not just one big area of white. Now it's kind of we have these textured lines running through there. And I think that looks, I think it just looks better that way. And it kind of reiterates what's going on in the sky too. Okay, now if you ever take off too much and you think, oh my gosh, I took off too much, it's too light, well then just go back in with your stylus tool or whatever you're using to sponge on the color and just recolor it. Start off with a lighter tone of blue though again, and then work into the darker ones, you know, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I made that too light. Boom, solid black right over it. You know, just go back to your lightest tones and rebuild the color right over that. There's, you know, it's not a, you know, just a step A through B, C, D, E, F process. You can always skip back around and you can go back to, you know, step C or something like that, you know, and go back, you know, to a lighter color and re-scratch and whatnot. It's a very forgiving medium that way. Okay. Okay, now as I'm scratching in this, if inevitably the edge of this kind of spoon-shaped one gets a little bit dull, so what I do is, this is a little sharpening stone. I just picked it up at the, I don't know, department store in the sporting goods area where they might have you know, sporting goods, fishing supplies, hunting supplies, and whatnot. But this is just a real fine grade sharpening stone. You can also use very fine grit sandpaper, and I'm just running this along this. I'm not going like this, like in an arcing motion or something. You know, it's not like sharpening knives in the kitchen, but you're just kind of rubbing this along gently like that, and it re-sharpens the edge. And again, don't grind off too much of the metal. It's not like a high grade, you know, kitchen knife or something like that. So it's kind of a softer metal, and you don't want to. All you need to do is just hone the edge a little bit, and you're ready to go again. And it'll give you a cleaner scratch. See what's going on there? That's kind of fun. Okay, now here's the more sharper tipped tool. And let's put a little edge on this barn. Let's kind of redefine that edge of the barn that's kind of been lost. This is kind of going in and adding texture, you know, as well as lighting. It's kind of just, you're marking, or you're scratching out what, you know, or at least I am, what I usually do with the white gel pen. You know, the white gel pen on glossy cardstock is an additive process where I'm redefining light. On this one, it's a subtractive process. I'm removing some ink. Okay. And we have this kind of rustic barn image. Why not go and kind of add some rusty, you know, or textures, you know, not rusty, but kind of textures into this barn. These these panels of wood. I can kind of define these barn doors a little bit more, get them to kind of stand out. So I'm just kind of, I'm just kind of looking at the design a little bit. I see where there's some of these planks of wood are, where the black line is, and now I'm just going in and kind of scratching off some of the areas where there's a little bit of that black line. I'm just doing it in white. You can see it's really starting to capture some of that light up here, and for the softer clouds. Yeah, I can put a much more defined edge to some of those, like that. Anyways, there you have it. Maybe I'd spray this and it would become